Hello, everybody. I am back again to present a new lesson today. So, how are you getting on with your work, and how are you getting with your preparation? You are welcome to Solo English again with a new video. Today, as you know, we have it is on the blackboard, so we have standard-based approach. This method, we are using it in the classroom, and before in 1980s we were talking about PPP. I have talked about it, presentation, practice, production. It was in the past, in 1980s, it came with behaviorism and audiolingual method. Well, this method, the concern was just on the form of language. The students were just to know the words and form in sentences and give importance to accuracy. Maybe fluency is coming after. And in 1999 and 2001, 2003, we started to talk about a standard-based approach as a new method, and standard-based approach and competencies, of course. So what we are going to know today, what are the elements that consists of our standard-based approach. There are many words and many terms to explain today. Well, for standard-based approach as a method, the Ministry of Education came with books, textbooks, as you know, they are. This is Ticket, and this is Gateway, and this is Visa. All the books that the Ministry of Education came up with consist of standard-based approach. There is a map in the book. I show it. So this map is important to know it. This is a map. So each textbook contains this map. And in the map, what do we have here in the title? We have standards, skills, and competencies. So what are these standards and what are these competencies? Well, anyway, this standard-based approach came with, it relies on a new curriculum. It has a new curriculum. So there is curriculum. And what is curriculum? Curriculum is a globalist overall content to teach in the classroom. And the curriculum consists of environmental themes. And we are going to see what are these environmental themes. And of course, 5 C's. This curriculum that we are using today in our classes, they rely on environmental themes which we know in the classroom and in society. For example, we have education, health problems, pollution, traveling, and we have brain drain, sustainable development. All these themes, they are environmental. Why? Because the learner or the students are in contact with these themes. Once we travel, for example, or once we go to work, we find these themes. They are very important. And why these themes are important? Because they are authentic and they are meaningful to the students. They are motivating. They make students motivate because they for example, like sports, cinema, theater, and so on. These are very important for students. They like it, and students are involved in these themes. So these environmental themes gave us, and here 5 C's. We have communication. We are going to explain what is communication. And we have culture, culture, sorry, and connection, comparison, and community. So look at these words. They are very important words, and they are within these textbooks that we have. We deal with communication, and we are going to explain communication, what it is, and culture, connection, comparison, and community. For culture, the student is supposed to know his culture and to know other cultures. If he speaks 2 or 3 languages, and we know today students they are multilinguals because they speak 3 or 4 languages, and each language it has its culture. And of course, we don't give importance just to the form of language, but we give importance to the meaning, to the culture. For example, if we come to greeting, and in each language we have the form of greeting. The Gulf states have their greetings. In England has its greetings. In Morocco we have greetings. So greeting is a culture that students compare and know what form of culture the other languages are using. So this is the problem of culture. We should understand, when we learn language, we should understand its culture, of course. Connection, it means when we study English language, we compare it with other subject matters. With science, with physics, with history and geography, with philosophy. So there is connection to the other subject matters. Why? Because they are studying other subjects, and the subjects that they study, they find it in English, and maybe the text we give in English, they contain philosophical subject topic, or physics, or science, or history and geography. So this is why connection is important. Comparison, here we compare the differences and similarities between the 2 or 3 cultures that we study. If we notice in Visa, for example, the textbook in Visa, we have 3 texts. One is Chinese, the second is American, and the third is Moroccan. And here the 3, maybe the topic is food, for example. If we compare food in 3 states, in 3 countries, we find different way of eating food, of asking for food in restaurants, for example. Chinese, they use chopsticks, and Moroccan, we use the hands and fingers, and the Europeans, they use fork and knife, and so on. There is differences and similarities. Community is very important. When we study a task in the classroom, a topic in the classroom, we should make students transmit it to everyday life. He is going to apply it, what he learns in the classroom, he applies it in society. For example, he should know how to complain. He should know how to write an email. He should know how to use the internet and technology. And he should know what to say and what to do when he is working, when he is traveling, when he is contacting other people. So this is the role of 5 C's. You are within our textbooks and our program. And now we are going to focus after on communication. Communication is important here. Okay. So after curriculum, that contains environmental themes and 5 C's, we have a syllabus. But what's the difference between syllabus and curriculum? As I said, curriculum is global, is overall what to teach in English language. But syllabus concerns just first year, or second year, or common core. For example, this is ticket first year. There is syllabus for students in first year, what to know and what they must know in English language for this year, what to study in grammar, in language, in topics, and this is a syllabus. And in the syllabus, we have in the textbook a map which concerns with communication. I'm going to talk about communication. So in communication, we have interpersonal communication. So what is interpersonal communication? Is the task which consists of dialogues, of interpretations, of interaction, of negotiations, of problem solving, of functions. For example, suggestion, advice, opinion, expressing opinion, agreement, disagreement, all this, it is within interpersonal communication. And we find it in our textbooks. We have different dialogues, many dialogues, when we have interaction between students, or between in a role play, for example. And then interpretive, second one, interpretive. Interpretive is just listening and reading. So interpretive, why? Because after reading or listening, we give interpretation what we understood and what we get. Okay, and the last one, or the third one, is interpersonal interpretive, and the third one is presentational. And presentational consists of speaking and writing. Here, this is the division of communication. All these three elements consist of communication. Now, when we have a communication in our books, besides communication, besides these components we have of course grammar and vocabulary, we have cultural aspects of the culture, and we have project work in our book. And concerning reading and listening in the past, for example, with PEP method, we were focusing on bottom up method, and today we give importance to top down method. So maybe some students asked me, what's the difference between bottom up method and top down method? Well, for bottom up method is when we give importance just to the form of language. We know the words. After words, we know to form sentences, to make clauses, to make phrases, to for example, we put words in disorder. When we put the correct sentences, we give importance just to language. When the beginners start to learn language, they start with A, B, C, D, E, F, and then they form words, and words they form sentences, and sentences they make clauses. They analyze just language as it is. This is bottom up. And in the classroom, what do? Sometimes we use bottom up, sometimes we use top down. Top down is crucial importance. When we teach a text to students reading, for example, we don't give just text and we say, okay, read the text. This is bottom up approach, or bottom up method. And when we come, before giving a text, what do? We prepare students with brainstorming activities. We prepare with discussion. We introduce the students to the topic without feeling that he is going to read a text. We use discussion. We discuss the topic in general. For example, if the topic is about conditions of women in society, we talk in general about women in society, how they are, what job they do, etc., etc. So this is top down. So top down, it starts with brainstorming activities first to predict what is coming, what are we going to do with language, what are we going to read or listen. This is the two theories, top down and bottom up. In teaching, when we present something in the classroom, of course we usually use top down first, and we end by bottom up to analyze sentences, to analyze kind of style, what sort of language used by. Is it simple language? Is it abstract language? Is it difficult language? This is all this problem of language. It concerns bottom up method. Right, and now we pass to a new element. So when we give a lesson within standard-based approach, from the textbook, what do we do? Usually we say that some students or some teachers, maybe new teachers, they don't make a difference between learning objectives and competencies. This is the problem that we want to understand. Learning objectives is, we say it in lesson plan. When we prepare our lesson plan, we say at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to know such and such and such and such things. They should know some items, vocabulary items, grammatical items, or functions, or so. The learning objectives is to achieve after the lesson, to attain certain knowledge of we use task to achieve a skill, maybe. Okay, and competencies is consists of knowledge, skill, and competency. So we give example here. How does this task, when we give a task, for example, to a student, we give it first, what do they know? We start by knowledge. So, and then with knowledge, we pass to skill. And this knowledge becomes a skill. And skill becomes competency. Let's give an example. And here, learning objectives, maybe sometimes it concerns just the lesson at specific time. Specific time, maybe within 1 hour or 2 hours, when my lesson is over, I see what is achieved, what is attained. But for competencies and here, knowledge, for example, and skill, imagine I teach my students to write a paragraph. And paragraph is a task, is a standard, something new to present. And for students, writing paragraph is a knowledge first. It's okay, I tell them no, paragraph consists of topic sentence, controlling ideas, concluding sentence. This is the rule or the principles of practicing a paragraph. And then when do you know, this is knowledge first, we pass from knowledge, we need practice, we need implementation. And when we implement these principles, we let them write, for example, to see how they do it. To acquire a skill, to become a skill. And skill becomes competence, because there is a difference between competence and competency. They are not the same. When we get, for example, a skill, in skill with practice and interaction, this skill becomes competence. You say, I am competent at doing something. I am competent at driving. I am competent at writing a paragraph. I am competent at doing such and such things. Competent, it means the capability to do something with language. For example, driving a car. When we present a car to the learner for the first time, we say, well, I have never driven a car, so it's difficult for me. What should I do with car? This car is a task for him to learn. And when we present car, they get knowledge what to do. He gets in the car and he starts his car and he starts to move little by little until he acquires the skill. And the skill becomes competence. So there is a difference between competence and competency. Competence. Competency, what is it? Or competencies. After skill and competence, we pass to competencies. Competencies is an attitude which is given in a sort of performance, and the performance should be perfect. When you do something perfectly in society or at work or in any certain job, you say this is competency. This is what I can transmit in my everyday life. For example, someone who knows how to drive, when you give him a car and he drives his car perfectly, this is competency. Competency is achieved here. Or when we want to write a report, you say, okay, now you are up to be secretary, and the secretary must have a competency to do something with the language, for example, English or French or any language. So this is the terms that we must understand. So standards-based approach consists of curriculum, syllabus, learning objectives, knowledge, skill, competence, and competencies. All these things. So we do them in the classroom, and in the classroom we should know, we should be aware of it. When I present something, I should know what I'm doing. When I have, for example, my objectives should lead my students to knowledge, to skill, and competencies. So this is maybe some teachers or some students told me, well, how to understand. But is there a difference between standard approach and competency-based approach? Of course, they are complementary. One completes another. If without, for example, without 5 C's, we cannot achieve these skills. Without environmental themes, we cannot achieve these competencies. Competencies is in need of all the elements we said, 5 C's, communication, culture, comparison, connection, and of course environmental themes, because we are involved in these environmental themes, and this is what I want to say today about this approach. And okay, I hope that you benefited a little bit from this lesson. I hope that you will follow my solo English with next time. See you next time, chapter. Thank you very much.